And good afternoon or good morning, whenever you may be receiving this. This is juniors and seniors, our lecture for the book of James today. And so beautiful, so pretty. I just tried to come outside here on the luxurious screened in back porch here at the Crow compound. So thank you for joining us here. Let's go ahead and get you some notes pulled up. We want to jump back in today here to the book of James. If you recall, where we left off is these ideas of trials and where our temptations and trials come from. Verse 2, James tells us to consider it joy when we face trials of many kinds. And we made a difference between what a trial is and what a temptation is. Trials are things that are just going to happen to us that we're just going to go through. The temptations are things where we get drawn to things and we try to do them. So we're talking about hardships, not temptations. And that's where we kind of left off yesterday. So today, here's the solution to trials, okay? And we're going to look at these and kind of 3 or 4 bullet points that you're going to need to know for the future. The first solution to trial is a joyful attitude. Count it all joy. Consider it all joy when you encounter various trials. The when here indicates that trials will come. Jesus promised us that. He said, in this world, we're going to have tribulation. We're going to have hardships. We're going to have things that we're going to have to endure that are going to be difficult for us. Paul said it as well in Acts chapter 14. Sicknesses, disappointments, they happen because we're frail. We're human beings. I apologize. I'm late today. I'm not feeling well. I'm late getting this particular video pulled out, posted, and just trying to kind of do my best with that. And you junior and seniors kind of know I share some of my health difficulties with y'all. And so that's going to happen. Some trials can come because we're Christians. First Peter gives us kind of that admonition that, hey, sometimes when you make a bold stand for Jesus, it's going to happen. So just the word when reminds us that we're going to have them. So we shouldn't be surprised. We shouldn't be shocked when difficulties come our way, because that's part and parcel of being a Christian. He says, consider it joy when you encounter. The King James says fall into. Which is not probably the best translation of the phrase. Encounter is better, meaning it's something you come upon. This is not a surprise to God. It shouldn't be a surprise to us. Again, just prepare yourself as young men and women to know that when you go out into the world, when you leave Commonly Christian, when you go on to the next thing in your life, that trials will be a part of that. You're going to go through some hardships. So just, again, when you encounter them, kind of remember in your spiritual life, okay, I've been getting ready for this. All of us are at one phase or another. We're either about to come to a trial, we're in a trial, or we've just experienced one. That's kind of the Christian repetitive cycle. I would say right now, at the recording of this, we're all in a trial. This isolation, all these things that is going on. I was talking to Coach Ellen about it yesterday. He had a very good point. Everything that we normally do as Americans, we come together, we unite, we get through stuff. We can't do that now. We've been told to isolate. We can't come together. We actually have to stay apart. And so that makes this trial unique and very, very different and very difficult. He says when you fall into, and he calls diverse trials, we're just going to kind of gloss over that, various trials. We're going to go through different things. So that's just part of it. But the word here that I do want to spend some time on, is the word count. Count it all joy. Consider it all joy. If we're going to face trials, we have to have a joyful attitude, which is the main point here, a joyful attitude. And we have to count it all joy. This is a term that means to evaluate it. So here's the trial we're sitting in today, okay? We're all in isolation. We're unable to get out to do the things we want to do. Prices of goods have fluctuated. It's hard to get groceries. It's hard to do certain things. You guys have had much of your senior or junior year taken away from you. You miss your friends. You miss springtime athletics. You miss class trip. I mean, we could go through all these different things. Graduation's kind of a concern in the future. What are we going to do? Well, this word, consider it or count it, means to evaluate it. Here's our problem. How do you evaluate it? We're all facing the same difficulty. How will you evaluate it compared to the person next to you? The trial at many times will be based on your acceptance of it instead of the trial itself. You can't change anything that's going on. All you can change is how you deal with it and how you biblically choose to respond to it. And the word of God is really clear here when it says, count it all joy. That is something that you're going to have to decide to do. You're going to have to make a conscious decision that I'm going to count this as a joyful thing. It's hard to do that, and especially you seniors, and my heart certainly goes out to you guys. It's really hard to sit here and say, you know, what a joyful thing that I'm missing my senior year. But we know that there's a reason for it. We don't know the reason, and there'll be 10,000 reasons for individuals. But the first part of this, if you're going to get through the trial, is you got to have a joyful attitude. The second thing today is in verse 3, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Secondly, you have to have an understanding mind. Knowing this, you have to be able to look at it from a big view and see something better. The idea here in the biblical context is this view from 10,000 feet, meaning from way up high, looking at your whole life as a spiritual endeavor and has a beginning and an end point, and everything that God's going to do with you in the middle. You have to understand, okay, this is a part of that. Faith must be tested for it to really be faith. You know, if we're not put out there a little bit on the limb, then we can't really show faith. Faith has to have some difficulty to it in order for it to really be proven. You can't really trust in something unless you're going to fall and let it catch you, and you have faith that it will catch you. Testing grows us. The word here in verse 3, the testing of your faith, that word is better translated approval, that your faith is going to be approved by the things that you go with. Such trials are for our benefit. Romans 8:28 tells us all things work together. Why? That they build you up. I want you to look down here and highlight this in your notes, because this is really well said here. From a commentary I used. In verses 5, 7, 8, 10, he uses the word long, meaning a long temper or patience. It means to abide in patience. Like that's where we're sitting. Verse 3, knowing the testing of your faith produces endurance. Again, we're looking at this big, long life that you and I are going to live. Now, again, I'm 40. You guys 16, 17, 18. None of us know when our end of our life, our expiration date is. But we realize that it's not a sprint, and we have to have endurance. And trials produce endurance in us, meaning we're playing the long game. We're going through the long idea of the Christian life. It's not just about this Wednesday. It's about the whole endeavor of your Christian life, college, career, family. I pray for you guys, because you're right at the beginning of that. You're going to make these decisions, and you're going to have a major, and maybe you're going to meet the person you're going to marry, and you're going to start a family. A couple of our graduates that I love dearly, brothers in Christ, just had children. And to see the joy that they have, knowing that I had them back in the classroom, and it seems like just yesterday, and now they have these families. That's the endurance of this Christian life. Patience has to be the key to that. And sometimes the only way we get patience is to be tried and to be tested. And it forces us to have patience. There is nothing we can do right now in the midst of this virus except be patient and wait upon the Lord. That's really all that we have right now, is the opportunity to develop and grow our patience. And it's not fun, but it's what God is doing with us right here and right now. So James tells us to consider it, count it joy when you face trials, knowing that one of the things that we're going to get from a trial is patience or endurance. This is tough. I'll just be honest with you. This situation's tough. This idea is tough. It takes some spiritual maturity to look at a trial and think that it's a good thing, to count it as joy. It takes some spiritual maturity to be able to look at these ideas and these concepts and think, wow, I'm so glad that God has given us this interruption. But again, I beg you guys to think about the long game and everything that God wants to do with you in your whole life, and realize that this is giving us endurance. So no assignment today for you guys, but I just want you to take a minute and consider the idea of patience. And are you willing to wait upon the Lord? Are you willing to allow God to speak to you, and you just kind of sit and do nothing? You do as the psalmist says, just be still and know that he is God. So the only assignment is to challenge you to do that for a few minutes. Wherever you're at in your day, no video games, no screens, no Snapchat, none of that. Put everything away for a few minutes and just you and the Lord. Okay, Lord, I just want to hear from you. Just be still and consider the idea of this trial developing endurance in your own life. Okay? Love you guys. Hope you're having a good week so far. It's a beautiful day. Get out in God's creation if you have a chance, and just commune with him a little bit that way as much as you can. Again, reach out, text, email, call me if there's anything I can do to help you. Love you guys. We'll continue on in the book of James tomorrow. We'll be to verse 4. Go serve your King. Have a good and godly day.